So this is like the one by one artwork of the mosaic that I propose is that we can have this as a screen, so we can have a frame like this. So it's like a portrait of a screen, or like maybe we can have like mirrors or screens that can flip like this, animatedly flick like this to the side or to the to upward, or maybe just have a screen, and these are individual screens that are put up together, maybe for the bar, for display. So for the scene, the widescreens version is that we can have like this scene is sitting in the middle of the 16 by 9, but like I propose it. This is like just putting it there in the 16 by 9, so like the negative space is just like blank. But I have some alternatives. For example, we can put this grid onto a perspective studio shot like that. So like we have a screen, and then maybe we can have some cables, and we have some that chiaroscuro lighting like we did in Hello Kitty, but better. I think we can pull this off a little bit better, and that's what I was thinking. So like this screens can be used as, we can post this individually, hopefully, as Instagram post. So like when you open the file, the profile, you can see that there's you in the in the profile. So like what I mean is like this, we have mosaics, right? So like we have two artworks. It's very simple. So we just have a bust shot of you and the lion. So essentially we can have an artwork that is completely you and is completely the lion, or like we can have part of this lion, this, maybe this part is lion, and maybe you can have a little bit of your eyes here in respective grids. So like we can have a puzzle, and when we play the animation on YouTube, is like it's gonna flip. It's gonna flip like this. It's gonna back and forth, flip, 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 changing between you and the lion, and then eventually creating, eventually ending up with, um, you know, ending up with the whole. So like, to the progression of the song in the motion animation, we tell a story that there is a struggle between the story, the biblical story. See, the thing is like, I like where you have your background, and I don't disagree with it. But when it comes to the artwork, it's just the visual motifs are missing. I know, like I know, like the sculpture is good. Maybe it can be good, but I don't feel like I can animate a statue if it's small. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe if it's big, like it's a monument, a statue, but there in there itself, it doesn't make any sense to the story. But if we choose to do this mosaic, like it's already fit into the visual aesthetic of what we have established, and it's simple enough for me to do, and it's very simple. It's just you inside the screen. Maybe it's just like, so it's like we can have the effect of glitching, maybe glitching, or like blipping back and forth between the lion and you in some parts, and eventually it became you. Or maybe we start off with Malma. We start off with a lion, and then like maybe switching back and forth, and then maybe we can maybe we can switch back to you, something like that. That's what I was thinking, and I think it's really good. I think you should go with it because it's very simple, and uh, Ma, di mo. Ma, very simple, and you know, uh, and it's very it doesn't have to, like, we don't have to add like Easter egg references, something like that, because you have these references like those, because but have references like Billie Eilish, this weekend, the Drakes, because they don't have narrative, because that's what you choose to pursue. It's like Kanye, Kanye when he made the graduation, the college dropouts, he established a narrative and he followed that narrative. But if you want to choose to break that narrative, to have this kind of you, it's like a portrait of you, but it still makes sense in the world, that so we're just not like, okay, here's a sculpture, maybe, because that's initially my idea, but I didn't like it because it doesn't tell any story. But what I did have was not a small sculpture, but like a big monument of sculpture. So like it's mechanical, because it doesn't make sense, because when we like overlay uh what do you say, a hologram over this, just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't work that way. But if you choose to like have this mosaic, it's just like, okay, it makes sense. It's a screen. It's a futuristic world. People use screens, and maybe this is, we can find the screen at a, we can position the screen at any scene, maybe in the bar, which the bar can use for advertising, or maybe this is the screen that we find in the signage, the front signage of the Super Lion building. So like at the beginning, maybe we can have like Super Lion, and then like they have that animation which you can watch on like football stadiums, and then they just switch like to suddenly it's a lion, a portrait of a lion. you know we have textures of the screen, like the picture I sent you. It's very good because it makes sense, and I can make as simple as that's enough. It's just like maybe like the weekend or something, like Drake cover albums, but you have like um grid, essentially a grid. I don't know how the grid's gonna be, but essentially it has like a small grid on each and like a flat TV screen, and we can have this as individual Instagram posts. I don't know how to make this an individual Instagram post, but I think like if we pursue this, I can figure it out. It depends on the animation whether you want it to be like a mirror. So if it's a mirror, it's sort of like fantasy, right? So like you have like suddenly the mirror turns and then it's like part of you or part of the lion, and then over here it's switching again, this switching again, it's switch again, or switch upward, not from the sides. So if you have mirrors, that's fantasy, right? If you want science fiction, so as you have, all you have is a screen. It's easy and made sense because you start out with Super Lion with title animation like that I explained, that we have a horizontal like Super Lion, like this is the horizontal elements and the vertical elements, and then they meet together in the front, and then the sound begins for the motion animation. That's what I think, and it works well as a cover, and it's striking. It's simple enough. It's effective because it makes sense. Because if you're in this story, it fits in. It just fit in the narrative and the visual narrative established, because it just makes sense. You have this conscious battle of bringing out the best of you, but you're set in the science fiction universe, which is you have this technology, and then we can have this battle of representation. It's abstract, but it makes sense. It's tangible, you know, for it to have the certain logic inside of that. inside of that story. So you have this struggle inside the screen. It makes sense, right? Because if we see the idea for the music video, we'd have like you looking at this mirror and screen, and you find this tiger everywhere you go while you're chasing the girl. That just makes sense to me, you know. That's for me because I don't feel like this. The I don't. I can't. It's like a half baked idea for the sculpture because I couldn't get there. You know, maybe it's a sculpture, okay, but what? You know, it's simple, but it doesn't logically. It doesn't search the story of the biblical story of between the lion and Jesus. You know, it just doesn't make sense. Maybe at at certain visual styles we can see similarities because maybe we want to go that Greek statue mod, like the Greek pose. It doesn't make sense. Too late to do that for me. But I feel like if we do the sculpture, we're just gonna add up things as we go along, and it's end up gonna simple, and then it's gonna end up that we keep doing stuff to make it live in the motion animation. That's what I'm afraid of because there isn't enough trust for you to make me make stuff up. Like for example, the windows. You didn't agree to do the window because I don't know for some reason, but it turns out to be the best of the bunch because it came naturally. It makes sense to me. Like how is he gonna? Of course, we're gonna see him thinking of is like ruminating if he really wanted to pursue this, fly in the flying carpet with a girl, like he and you see this cityscape in the background. It's simple, it's effective. I think it should have been your cover art, but you know I don't know because in and of itself the artwork for flying, the idea was too literal for me, but that's why it's happening so much, because like okay, this guy's flying car. Maybe if he bought a hoverboard, make more sense, but then again, you already wrote the song, and it's very powerful for have it for it to have a carpet. That's what I think. So like if you choose to do this, I think you solve a lot of problems. So we can just do this, like you don't have to add anything like maybe for example this this cocktail, because I think the cocktail should be used in the MV, and we shouldn't like add stuff up because it just doesn't make sense to me. If you want you, that okay, that's you. Because all the artworks focus on the artist, and I want to focus on the artist and maybe the lion because it's the motif, the conflict of the song. You know, that's where I came from. So like this is the sketch. So like we have to recap. So we'd have this like 9 grid screen, and it doesn't have to be designed like okay, this is Instagram post one, part two, three, four, five. No, it's just like we'd have a screen, and then we have it's like combined screen, and it's an illustration wise. We draw it like so. After that, we can just separate it, and hopefully we can animate it like changing between. So like the worst thing is like about the Instagram, we can see when we open the profile and then it's switching. It's cool if we like, or if visit the profile and it's already switching by its own like a GIF. It could be cool, but we can we can like like concede on that and have like just a grid of your face, half line, like a quarter lion, whatever. You know, that's what I was thinking. Sorry for like a very rambling, but I think like this is the one that you should do. Because about the sculpture, I presented that idea before you like say like, hey, there's a biblical story, because I just found out that you have this background story, aside from the song, which is completely that in itself I already have to cook up a story for you, and maybe the storyboard wouldn't end up being used, the one that your friend made, because I think like it's a stretch to like include another screenwriter, except like if we're working actually on a studio together. It's just very impossible to like incorporate those ideas. Some of it maybe not work visually, or maybe I'm not able to do it technically, because I'm just alone. Maybe if we work in a studio, it'd be easier for us to like, okay, this will work, we can have a discussion between me and your friend, but I just let you do what you want with your direction. I think like your friend is a help, and he structured the thing really well. But maybe if he keeps adding, or you keep adding scenes to what we already have, I think like, yeah, we can have as many as we want, but we're gonna cut it in the end. Like we're gonna essentially, it's gonna come down to me to like, okay, this works, this doesn't, this can be done, because like there's so much stuff happening that we need to like cut down and guide. What I'm saying? I feel like that's this is the simple one. I think like this is the simple one, the ones that make sense. The ones that embedded into the world, into this universe of science fiction fantasy. Like you can have the mirror or the screen. I've already explained to you how it works. So like for the socials, it can be used also, and then if you still want to do other socials, we can like the flying one, we can still do that. The Easter eggs. If you want to go big on that. Like add the budget to that. So like, but like you already, for the same price, you already have this, like split between parts, and it makes sense why you'd split into these parts. So like what, maybe when people see this individual post, like, what is this hair, what is this, so why is it changing to the lion's hair, but like you'll have the title design too, but in the middle. So like it's, when you see it in the profile, it's still like completely like, you can edit the cover of the video on Instagram, right? That's what I was thinking about. It's very refreshing, and I haven't seen it at all, but it's familiar, but I haven't seen it at all. But that's why it's groundbreaking. If you have people, that is, the animation is very interactive. Like, whoa, okay, this this guy is glitching the screen. Like it's very simple, but why haven't people done this? And people would go like that. So like when I saw that mosaic image, like, okay, that makes sense. And to compartmentalize, to incorporate your story of the biblical story, I think it's already very biblical. Like Jesus has, most of the time he was portrayed uh, as a portrait. There's always millions of portraits of Jesus. Maybe we can uh, attach that, that mannerisms of the portrait, what I'm saying, into this. Maybe we can have a shot of the line as well. So essentially we'd have just like a bust, a portrait, like your profile picture, if we don't have the grids and screens and a lion. So if you want to make a physical release, we'd have, this is for the front cover, the back cover we can figure it out later, and then this is the inside sleeve, you and the lion. Oh, so people would know. I don't know. This is like design. This is what I this is what I think I should be doing. Like, you should trust me to like solve problems and enhance the narrative. I think this is the best one, because I keep coming back to the sculpture, because I want to make sure that you realize that it doesn't make sense to the story. It can if you really force it to, but it just doesn't. I just doesn't. I don't feel like it because you go from like the portrait of you in flying and Hello Kitty. Okay, so it's Flash. You're present. That's you, literally you, on the nose. And suddenly you want to turn into a sculpture. It's very funny to me because guys just don't turn to sculpture in the future, like at 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 will. You know what I'm saying? And I think if you use this screen, you create this like this distance between like the real and not real inside the universe. You know what I'm saying? Like in and of itself, like okay, that makes sense. It's inside the screen because it's a science fiction world, and there's technologies embedded everywhere. Like it's freaking 239 or something. I forgot. Something like that. Okay, like everybody can probably upload themselves into the internet. Like so, like if you want to have this abstract shot of you, it should be the screen. That's it.